Okay, greetings and welcome back. So we've accomplished quite a lot up to this point. We've got a weapon, it fires. We can now destroy the enemy. He takes damage. Our next goal is to allow the enemy to in turn damage the player. So we're gonna start this off by going into our hero character blueprint, and we need to establish the primary behavior for handling damage, just as we did in the enemy. We're going to do that by first going into our class settings and making sure that the hero also implements the eye damageable interface. We'll then compile and save. Let's grab kind of an empty area of the graph, and we will grab that affect health event. So now something can call, anything really, could call affect health on the player. And what do we want to have happen in response? Well, we want to calculate health. And that's simply going to be just going to take in whatever delta is passed in by way of like a damage value. Now, just as we did with the enemy, we are then going to check and see if the player is dead, which if you're following along and it's been a little bit, remember, you're not going to see health and is dead unless your show inherited variables is switched on, because we set up those variables inside the C++ class. So let's grab is dead. We'll drag it in and we'll branch off of it. And there we go. So if we're dead, then we simply want to destroy this actor. And actually, while we're here, let's do the same test that we did over on the enemy before. Let's do a print string. Notice I just dragged a wire out and typed in print string, and it got inserted right into that line, which is pretty nice. Let's get our health value. And let's connect that into the string, and that'll automatically get converted for us. So our hero now has the ability to take damage. It'll report that damage to the screen, which is totally temporary. We'll remove that eventually. And then if it turns out that he's died, so that health value has gone to 0 or below, we're just going to destroy the player. Now, since the hero character, I should be clear, we're not going to destroy the player. The player is actually whoever's holding the controller, so that would be kind of awful. We're going to destroy the hero character. Now, interesting to note, the hero character is our primary pawn. Once we destroy that, the game will be rendered unplayable and weird things will happen, but that's okay for now. This is just for testing purposes. So let's compile and save, and now we need to set up the ability in the enemy to cause this damage. And we're going to start this off over here in the viewport. We're going to add a new component to the enemy, and it'll just be a box collision. Now I want you to slide this forward in X, and then move it down to the character's feet, and then get your scale tool out with R and thin this out like so. So you can kind of see what we've done here. Now the reason we're doing this is that lasers are going to be flying around at about chest level, and I don't want the lasers to overlap or interact with in any way this little volume. I want this to kind of be separate off to its own. So we're going to put it down by the character's feet, and we're going to name this damage volume. Now, what we want to have happen in this case is very much like how the weapon works. On the weapon, we have a custom event called fire, and all fire does is it shoots a projectile. And then we have another custom event. In fact, let's just go ahead and open it up and I can walk you through it and show you at the same time. It'll probably be easier. So remember, we had this custom event called fire, and all that does is spawn a projectile. We have this other event, which is going to essentially set a timer on fire, and another event which clears that timer. We're going to use the same concept to drive damaging the player character, but we're going to start it all off from actor begin overlap. And we're going to be using that damage volume to make sure that that overlap is happening. So when we overlap something, we want to make sure that it is the player. To do that, we're going to use casting. Casting is a way to verify what it is you're actually talking to in your blueprint code or your blueprint graph. And then once you do that, you have access to all of that character's attributes and functionality. So let's drag the wire from other actor and just type cast to hero character. And all this is going to do is it's going to make sure that this is a hero character. Then it'll test either true or false. So if this tests true, then we want to talk to the hero character. And what we're going to do is call, actually we're not going to do much of anything. In fact, let's do this. Once we verified this is the hero, let's store it in a variable so that we can talk to it later. So we'll promote this to a variable, which we will call hero. So now we have access to the hero. Let's create a custom event. This custom event will be called damage the hero. And this is going to be really simple. All we're going to do is grab that hero variable that we just created, drag a wire off of it, and we're going to call affect health. Like so. Now when you do that, I should point this out. When you drag a wire off that and type affect health, you're going to see a couple of different options. You'll see the interface call, and you'll see the function itself. If you choose the interface call, then it's going to plug into the object. So basically, this is going to work by it's going to work by way of the interface. We don't really need to use this. I don't really think it's going to matter which one we use, but I'm going to call the actual function that is on the object. So we'll call affect health on the hero, and we need to pass this a delta. So we're going to set this really high to begin with, like 20, actually negative 20. Remember, it seems to be a negative value to cause damage. If you ever wanted to create a healing power-up, though, you could use a positive value on affect health. Now, after setting the value, so I can hard code it to negative 20, then right-click and promote to variable, and I'll call this damage. And notice that by setting the value first and then promoting it to a variable, that number is automatically in the default value, which is a neat little trick, sort of a shortcut. So on actor begin overlap, we casted the hero character and then we stored the hero. The next thing we're going to do is set a timer, and we're going to set that on damage the hero. And we're going to fire that off twice a second. So we'll just set the time to 0.5. Now you could, instead of doing that, do some math. So do divide float by float. Set this to 1 over 2. So that's twice per second. And then right-click and promote this to a variable and call this attacks per second. So it's really whichever way you want to do it. If you want to change it later, it's probably better to store it in a variable called attacks per second. And we do want this to loop. Now, we don't want this to just run forever, because right now, the way this is set up, if our enemy ever touches the player is as good as dead, or the character is as good as dead, because it's just going to keep firing this timer over and over again. So what we're going to do instead is create a new event called actor end overlap. So event actor end overlap, like so. So it's exactly the opposite. It's what happens when we stop overlapping. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that this thing that we just stopped overlapping was indeed the hero. Here's how we do that. Let's get a reference to the hero. And then we'll use this other actor and just do a simple equals operation. So just so you see that again, because that was kind of fast, we'll drag a wire off, and I'm just going to hit the equal sign, and I'm going to choose equal object. And we can connect that up. And basically all this is doing is saying, is this other actor the same as the hero? Because if that's true, then that means we are no longer touching the hero. We just disconnected from him. So let's create another branch. Once again, let's hold down the B key and click. And we'll wire that up. And all this is going to do, give myself a little bit more room, is clear that timer. So we'll choose clear timer. And I'm lazy, so let's grab damage the hero, hit Control C, come over to my function name, and hit Control V. So just so you can see all of this graph, let's move some things around. There you go. So on actor begin overlap. So as soon as we detect an overlap, we're going to see if we're overlapping the hero. If we are, store that into a variable so that we can talk to it later, and then set a timer on a custom event called damage the hero, which is going to fire off, in this case, 2 times per second, and it's going to loop. Now, damage the hero is going to grab that stored hero that we just grabbed, and it's going to call affect health on it and do a certain amount of damage, in this case, -20. Then, as soon as we stop overlapping the as soon as we stop overlapping anything, we're going to check and make sure, hey, was that thing we just stopped overlapping actually the hero? Because if it was the hero, let's clear out that timer and stop inflicting damage. That's all there is to it. So let's compile and save. Let's hit Control S out here so we don't lose anything. And let's hit play and just walk up to the enemy. And 80, 60, 40, 20, and we're dead. Now what happened is that the camera just snapped up. We're no longer playing the game. We no longer have a pawn to play with. But that's good. That actually means that our character was destroyed. Now I do want to point something out. If I pause and eject and look around, something was left behind. And it's actually motion blurring, which is kind of funny. But our rifle was left behind, so we want to make sure we destroy that as well. So I'm going to stop playing. Let's go back into the hero character, and instead of just saying destroy actor with the default target of self, let's make sure we destroy the weapon. So remember that earlier on, when we set up the weapon way up here, we stored it in a variable called weapon. Well, we can use that now to destroy the weapon as well. So we can drag this into the scene, choose a getter, and connect that up. But we also still need to make sure we're destroying the this actor, the actual character. And you can do that in a couple of ways. We could do another destroy actor node, or we could right-click and create a reference to self. So there's a reference to self, and we can plug both of those in. Also, just as a quick nod to all of my programmer friends out there, you can type this, and just like in code, that's a reference to whoever you're inside right now. So it is a reference to self. It's just another way to access that node. So this will destroy the character, and it'll destroy the weapon. I'm not going to worry about testing this. We've already seen it destroy the character. So with that, we're going to compile and save. Let's come out here, and let's hit Control S and save everything. So we have now set up the ability for the enemy to damage the hero character and for the hero character to be destroyed. In the next video, we're going to set up some respawn behavior so that we don't ever end up with that nasty camera snapping up into the air. But that will wrap things up for this video. Thanks for watching.